Hello everybody, welcome to this week's live stream. If you haven't attended these before, I run them typically every Friday at 2:30, just as the US market is opening. And it's a quick look ahead to the economic calendar for next week. What's the important stuff to watch? Then we'll jump into the charts, look at the major markets, indices, commodities, a bit of currencies, see where perhaps the opportunities might be, and then if there's any stuff you want looking at, if you just put that in the chat, then once I've looked at the usual markets, I'll go back and look at whatever you want to do. It's been a pretty volatile week. Here's the S&P. This is on an hourly chart. So it was inflation data, wasn't it, on Wednesday of this week that kicked off a lot of volatility. The market sold off. We saw something of a bounce back yesterday. Clearly, we're just starting today. The dollar has seen quite a bit of volatility. The dollar's really interesting down here. So we'll have a look at this when we get started. But before we do all that, let's just get the housekeeping done. Risk warning, first of all. This presentation is only for educational purposes and does not contain and should not be construed as containing investment advice or an investment recommendation or an offer of or solicitation for a transaction in any financial instrument. David Jones accepts no responsibility for any use that may be made of these comments and for any consequences that result. You should consider whether you understand how spread bets, CFDs, futures, foreign exchange work, and whether you can afford to take the high risk of losing your money. Trading is risky. So we look ahead to next week. It's quite a bit next week. I've picked out three fairly important things. So Tuesday, China GDP. How healthy or not is the Chinese economy? Could be interesting. Wednesday, UK inflation. And we saw the volatility this week off those US inflation numbers. Let's see what next Wednesday's inflation in the UK looks like. We did see, US inflation dropped to a 2-year low, wasn't it? I think it was the lowest we've seen, down at 5%. So let's see what the UK inflation looks like next week. And then next Friday, we've got PMI data, Purchasing Managers Index. Again, another barometer for the health of the economy, and that's for Europe. So a smattering of bits and pieces next week. A quick mention from the sponsor, which is me. I run a trading course. There are two parts to the course. There's medium-term trading and there's shorter-term trading. There's 18 video lessons in total. In addition, there's access to live webinars as part of the course. And there's a WhatsApp group that I run for those on the course that I update during the week on markets that are looking interesting. If you've seen this before, you'll know what it is. From November to January, I traded a real account with real money and £4,000 in it. We talk about the results quite regularly on YouTube, and at the end of January, this was the return. I have to say, of course, past performance is no guarantee of future performance, but trading using the approach I talked about on the trading course, it clocked up just under £2,200 of realised profits on the £4,000 account. To find out more about that, and you can see all the trades that made up that 3 months of trading. If you go to the website, let me just drag it over and click on performance, then you can see all the details on that page and scroll down and see all the trades I did in that 3-month period. Trustpilot reviews. We've got 5-star Trustpilot reviews for the course, so thanks very much for those who did that. There's a newsletter. So again, free newsletter. If you go to the website and scroll down to the bottom or halfway down the page, if you haven't subscribed already, there's a newsletter I send out every weekend. It'll go out a bit later this week, but it will go out on Sunday, free of charge. If you put your email address in there, you'll get the newsletter. davidjonestrading.co.uk is the website address, and I'll put the link in the description. I'm doing a promotion. I was going to do it over Easter, but I forgot. So I'm doing a promotion that if you use the code April20, which is all one word, you can get a 20% discount off any of the courses. So if you put that in, that should apply. But as usual, any questions, drop me an email. So the website's there and it'll be in the description to this video. Right, let's get back in. to the markets. Let's start with the S&P. I mean, it's a bit of a boring week, I think. Not boring, directionless ultimately for US indices over the last few days. I'm long the S&P. I bought the dip on Wednesday of this week, so I'm wondering what sort of close we'll get today. Maybe we'll get a strong close today. Let's see what happens. But overall, nothing much has changed for me from a US stock market point of view. I think we are in recovery mode for US stocks. From a medium term point of view, I'd be a buyer of the dip. It's just a bit dull, isn't it? I think we're seeing higher highs, higher lows. Nothing much has changed. We're trading, we're getting close to the highs from earlier in the year, up ahead of 4,200. Let's see what happens. Like I say, from a short-term point of view, I bought the dip on Wednesday, so I'm still long. It'd be good if we can get a bit of a move on and break out today. That'd be quite nice, and maybe finish near or have a look at 4,200, but nothing too exciting, I don't think. Similar for the NASDAQ, if you look at the NASDAQ, we're looking at the daily chart here, and you can see, let me just delete all these lines, let's get rid of those. You can see, what the last week, 6-7 trading days has been like. It's been pretty sideways, chop, day to day. But again, for the NASDAQ, for me, we've come out of that downtrend that we were in from November 2021. So looking to see if it can recover further as the year goes on. I think I've missed this trade this week, but the best market, I think this week, stock indices, has been the FTSE. I mean, absolute great trend in the FTSE. I did catch a bit of it somewhere. I can't remember where. I think it was, where was it? If I flip it over to an hourly, I think I caught a bit of it from here to here into the beginning of April. But I don't think I was paying enough attention, but it's been a great run, and still here we are. We're at 7,900 on the FTSE. If we flip it over to a daily chart, a great run from those lows at 73. We got resistance coming in at 8,000 and a bit, 8,050, but absolute buy the dips market for me, the FTSE. It's almost textbook trend on that hourly chart. Pushes up, sells off a bit, breaks out again, sells off, breaks out, and here we go. Lovely market to trade that would have been over the last few weeks. So it had, I think the trade I did, I think I opened the trade in March. It did end up being my biggest winner in March on the FTSE. Biggest winner for the year, actually, from memory. And a great trade since then. So I'm going to pay a bit more attention next week. But let me get into what I do think is interesting. So stock markets, medium term, for me, still positive. US markets, not that exciting over the last week, but plenty of volatility. And let's talk about what I do think is interesting. Let's kick it off with gold. It's gold and the US dollar. So I did a video on gold yesterday. It didn't get watched very much, which I was surprised because I thought gold might be a bit of a hot market for people at the moment. But we're up here. We're up on gold, back above $2,000 an ounce again. Okay, this is the daily chart. It's got slammed a bit today, but only back to where it was yesterday. But I think it's really interesting up here, gold, and I'm seeing quite a lot of bullish commentary about gold, about it going to the moon and all of that sort of stuff. And, there's nothing like a strong trend to really fuel sentiment and extrapolate that trend out again. And obviously for me as a trend follower, I'm a big fan of following trends, but I do wonder, is gold going to hit the buffers again, basically? If we go back to 2020, August 2020, the high was about 2,075. March, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the high was about $5 less than that. And here we are at the moment, about $50 below those highs. So for me, if it's going to run out of steam anywhere, then we're here. We're back to the area where gold, traditionally, over the last 3 years, runs out of steam. So I think it's a really interesting market to watch. From a short-term point of view, I'd still be a buyer of the dip, because again, a bit like the FTSE, with gold, we've got a lovely trend going on in gold. Let's do that. So there we go. So I'd still be, buying the dip in gold, but from a more medium-term point of view, I just wonder what's going to happen up here? Are we going to see it roll over, or are we going to see a breakout? So really interesting to see what happens the rest of April for gold. I would be thinking it would start to roll over a bit again up here, but let's see what happens. We'll have a look at silver in a minute, but before we do that, let's look at the dollar, because this is clearly going to play a big part in it. So dollar index and gold, probably for me the two most interesting markets going into next week. So the dollar index, again, so the dollar index is a great market to trade, I think. It's the dollar against a basket of different currencies. Here it is getting slammed on those inflation numbers earlier this week. And what's interesting is the dollar has been driven back to the lows from February. Okay, so when we were down here around 100.80-ish, sentiment changed. You know, we'd seen the dollar in decline from last September. So it dropped about 10, 12% into those February lows, and we saw a decent rally. You know, the market rallied about 5% off those lows, and here we are again. Now, I am short the dollar at the moment, so I got short about here, short on the bounce back, and I'm still short, but from a medium-term trade point of view. But are we going to see the dollar bounce back again? If the dollar, you know, if this 100.8 level is an important one for the US dollar, and we see a rally, this is going to put pressure on gold. So I think it's really interesting. You know, an aggressive trade, if you absolutely thought this is the bottom for the US dollar, you know, in terms of risk reward, it's an interesting one. Let's say you're a buyer now at 101.20. We know the low. What was the low? What's the low been today? It has poked below that low. It's been to 100.78. So you're a buyer at, let's say, wherever, 101.20, stop at 100.5. So you've got 0.7 risk. And if it does bounce all the way back up to those March highs, there's about, what's that, 400 points upside. So it is interesting, absolutely, for me, the really interesting market to watch next week. And clearly what happens with this US dollar is going to dictate what happens with gold. I think if we break below those lows, let's say we break below today's low next week, you know, I think we start to see the next leg lower for the US dollar. Perhaps initially only down as far as 99, but another couple of 100 points lower for the dollar. Let's see what happens next week, but really interesting market. And silver is the market that I hate, because over the last couple of years, I don't think I've got a silver. If I buy it, it goes up. If I sell it, it goes down. No, if I buy it, it goes down. If I sell it, it goes up. But an absolute great trend in silver. This is the hourly chart off the 10th of March lows, about $20. And here we are at 26. So what's that, a 30% move in silver in just over a month. Phenomenal move. And it's actually behaved itself, silver. It's done great, you know, from a trend point of view. Here's our trend chugging along. We had a little bit of a sideways shenanigans going on here, and then it breaks out earlier this week, Wednesday this week. Bit of volatility on that inflation number, and bang, here we are again, you know, up higher again. So fantastic run from silver. What's interesting, taking the bigger picture, going back to the highs in May 2021, so 2 years ago, you know, it's breaking out of this downtrend, this trend that has pretty much held the price of silver down for a couple of years. It's breaking out. So that's been a particularly strong market over the last month or so. So really interesting that silver. And clearly what happens with the US dollar here is going to have implications for silver. It's sod's law that it will dump like 20% in the next month now, because that is for me, the unpredictability of this market. But a fantastic run in silver. So for me next week, gold, because we are back up near these old highs, these all-time highs, and the dollar index, because we are back this morning, has been back to what had been this morning and yesterday had been back to a major level for the dollar index. Let's see what happens. So that's some of those. What else should we look at? So look at natural gas, the old favourite. Natural gas has done its thing again. It's been a good trade actually, that natural gas, but natural gas yet again sucks in people thinking, oh, this is the bottom. We've got the fear of missing out, need to pile in, and has dumped to a new low for the down move. So ran up, what did it do? Tuesday this week, ran up as high as 217. faffed around for a couple of days up there and has dumped today to 190. You know, that trend, despite all of the, hang on, let me show you the usual thing I show you. Trader sentiment on natural gas. Here we go, let's have a look. Where is it? Oh, bear with me a second, because you can guarantee, I mean, I think it has, I've spoken to a few people about this, I think it absolutely has taken so much money off people. Here's an example from a popular UK broker. So clients who have a trade on this market, 94% of clients are long on this market. Well, that's UK natural gas. What I want to see is US natural gas. I don't really care about UK natural gas, because I would have thought it would actually have been, here we go, yeah, that's what I was looking for. 97% of clients are long on this market. I thought even 94% seemed a little bit low. So most people who have a trade on with natural gas are long, and I think it's just absolutely beaten up lots of people's accounts. But you know, a great reminder to trade with the trend. You know, so here we are. If we go back a bigger picture view, you know, it was $10 in August last year, and here we are now at 194. So the market, what's that? It's more than 80% fall, isn't it? 80% fall in however long it is. 9 months, something like that. So still weak. Natural gas, absolutely still weak. I would not be a buyer. I think that was an interesting short. I think the last video I did on natural gas, I was saying 212, 215 is the area to watch. It did spike up to 217. A good short up there though. And here we are now back below $2. So nothing has changed on natural gas. Still doing a great job of extracting money from people's trading accounts, I think. Now, crude oil, we've had that. Crude oil is a bit of an odd one. I think we had that bump up, big move, the big gap the other week. If we go back to the hourlies, the big gap the other week on the Sunday night open after the surprise news from OPEC that they were going to cut production. So that was something of a surprise to the market. We have seen it push higher again this week. I just wonder though. We're back to the top of the range on crude, the range that had been in place since December of last year. So again, if it's going to run out of steam anywhere, then we're here. Let's see what happens. I mean, it's trading a bit strange at the moment, but let's see what happens up at this 82 to 83 level, or 84, 82 to 84, let's call it that. That was the top of the old range. So for me, I would absolutely be leaning towards going short crude, but at the moment, it's not really showing any signs of weakness. You know, overbought on the RSI, for those who are fans of the RSI. It's the first time it's been overbought really since back then, since June of last year, 10-day RSI. Let's see what happens on crude. So I must admit, I'm not paying much attention to that one at the moment, but clearly 82 to 84 has been something of a hurdle for the price of crude. If we have a dip into a couple of the other currencies, so pound against the dollar, today briefly moved out to its best levels since June of last year, and clearly a lot of this, the direction here will be dictated what happens with that dollar index. You know, do we see strength for the US dollar come in, or do we see the dollar break down? Same sort of thing for euro dollar really. Again today briefly pokes up to 110.70 thereabouts, best levels since April of last year, so a 12-month high on euro US dollar. And I think I've been saying all this year, you know, I wondered if the euro was going to be the comeback king, and it has been so far. You know, we got a good trend in place, that bigger trend from September last year. So for me, I'd be a buyer of the dip on the euro, but let's see what happens if the dollar bounces back next week. And finally, Bitcoin. You know, this is in a recovery. You know, I've said this a couple of times on the break through 25,000. This market is in a recovery and moved out to new highs for the recovery today. So the highest it's been since June of last year. So 11-month highs on Bitcoin. I think it'd be interesting to see what happens if it does push up to these old highs from May of last year, around 32.6. Do we see it run out of steam and start to roll over? Let's see. But for me, it's absolutely be a buy the dip opportunity in Bitcoin if it did start to fall from here. Because we've got this trend that's been in place since the end of last year. Trend line support coming in around 22. You know, if it sells off to the mid 20s, I think it looks interesting. Bitcoin, regardless of, you know, what you think about the future of crypto, you know, I think the moves we're seeing in Bitcoin absolutely does point to a recovery, and it's changed from being a sell the rally to a buy the dip market. So that's all of that. So for me, like I say, next week, gold, but more so the US dollar. What happens down here for the US dollar index, and what sort of impact is it going to have on other markets? So just see the S&P's got a bit of a move on. So we are seeing a bit of a strong day in stocks. Excellent, like to see that. And that FTSE trend as well is continuing. But yeah, dollar index next week. Let's see what happens, and do we see the buyers come back out? So what we're going to do now is jump into the stuff you want to talk about. Don't forget to sign up for the newsletter. Go to the website, homepage of the website, my website, davidjonestrading.co.uk. You've got to scroll down to there and put your email in, and that's it. That'll work. If you'd like to sign up for trading course, if you use the code April20, all one word, on the website, you get 20% discount, and that's valid till the end of next week, I think. Right, let's take a look at some of the stuff that you want to look at. Let's just jump into the questions. The nightmare of natural gas. Yeah, we covered that, didn't we? I mean, it's still weak. Natural gas is still very much, if I do a video on natural gas, they're still really the most popular. So it has absolutely seems to have caught the interest of a whole new bunch of retail traders, natural gas. Because it's fallen so much. You know, people love a market that's absolutely plummeted, don't they? Because they want to buy the bottom. No sign of a bottom yet, though. But where are the big levels on natural gas? Let's go to a weekly chart. I mean, the ultimate low is June 2020. And that was $1.52 in June 2020. The most recent major low, major. So let's see what happens. But yeah, still a sell the rally market. Copper and aluminium. Copper. Where is it? I'm not sure on copper at the moment. You know, I think. Well, actually, no. Based on that, I would be a buyer of the dip on copper. That's a bit of a. It's a tricky. Oh, let's get rid of this. Hang on a second. What would you do? I would be a buyer of the dip on copper, on the basis that since July of last year, you know, we are recovering. But do you wait for a bigger sell-off is the question. And we are. So in the short term, I'd be a seller because we're running back into what has been a bit of a problem at 416 to 421. But, you know, more medium term, we have this uptrend. So let's see what happens. What I would like to do is wait for a sell-off, perhaps back towards 380. And the risk is I miss the sell-off and the market just carries on. It'd be interesting to see what happens next week with this one. You know, if it breaks through this 416, 421 area, it looks like we're going to have a run back up to 435 and the trend continues. So yeah, longer term, buyer of the dip. Short term, is it going to struggle up here? Let's see what happens. You've got a copper short at 407, stop loss at 403. You can't have that, can you? If you're short at 407 with a stop at 403, you're not going to be short, are you? So I don't understand that. Sorry. Start of US earnings season. Banks reporting numbers and earnings above expected. Thanks for that, Richard. How far can the FTSE go? Don't know. Who knows? 100,000. Should we say 100,000? I mean, for me, the next target is these old highs, 8,050, which is an all-time high, isn't it? On the FTSE. Where is it now? 7,900. So 8,050. It'll be interesting, you know, if we do see a broader recovery in US stocks and stock markets recover further, then clearly you'd expect the FTSE to go high. I mean, the DAX, I bought the DAX this week for a medium-term trade. The DAX has broken out to its best levels today since January 22. So we're 1 year highs on the DAX. Let's see. I mean, I think these stock markets still appear to be strong to me. Let's see what happens. Can we have a look at the CNJ? Hang on a second. CNJ ASX. This is a bit specialised, this, isn't it? CSX, small cap, at support. Oh, I can't even see that. I'm not CNJ ASX. No, doesn't make. I can't do that one. Unfortunately, it's not coming up. Silver is killing my account right now. Crazy upside. Well, there's a good lesson there. What's the lesson? Stop losses, isn't it? So I'm guessing you're short silver. If you mean killing as in not doing your account much good, I'm guessing you mean. So silver 4-hour chart, like a massive divergence is what kills me. Still going up like a rocket. Okay, that's a fair point. It's a good lesson there though, you know, about, it's a mistake a lot of people make in the beginning. Absolutely, I made it in the beginning. Reliance too much on indicators. So you're saying the divergence is what kills you. So the divergence was telling you, I guess, to go short, I'm guessing. But trends don't care about divergence. I think indicators are a waste of time. You know, I only put them on these charts because people like to see them. I never look at indicators. For years I did. And the approaches I go through and teach on my course very much risk management and price action driven and trends and all of that sort of stuff and having sensible stops. But I can see, you know, with indicators you can absolutely tie yourself in knots because the indicator will say one thing, the trend will say something else. When in doubt, forget about the indicator. What's your experience? What's your experience for opening oil with a huge gap? Will that come back partially to cover the gap? There is a theory, I think quite a popular held theory in technical analysis that gaps get filled. So this actually was a gap, as you said. You know, the market didn't do that candle a week last Sunday. The market closed on the Friday, the oil price. So 2 weeks ago, closed at 75 and then opened at 80. So there is a theory that gaps do get filled. I'm not sure I believe it. I mean, I do think that gap will be filled. I think that we will see oil trade down to 75 at some point, whether that's next week, next year, next century, who knows. So, but I've never been a fan of trading using gaps. I know, you know, I think it's too much of a assuming, you know, order in the market. Oh, gaps are always filled. So if you see a gap, you just go short. But if you'd gone short oil at 80, you know, you'd still be significantly offside. So I'm aware of it, but I don't necessarily subscribe to that opinion. Copper miners were on fire in Canada yesterday. CMMC, copper. Is that the right one? TSX, Toronto. Oh yeah, big gap up, isn't it? That is a gap and a half, isn't it? So 225, which I'm guessing is Canadian dollars, 270 today. What's the chart look like? What's the dailies look like? Nice, isn't it? I mean, it is almost like it's like the copper chart, and then it's just gone accelerated recently. So, I mean, it had been having a little gentle recovery, chugging along, and we've had it blip higher. So again, I'm not quite sure if I'd buy the dip here, if I'd buy the strength, sorry, but a dip would be nice. But no, that's good move there in copper, isn't it? In Copper Mountain Mining Corporation. Polestar, PSNY. That is Polestar, the car company, isn't it? That was spun out of Volvo. Is it Volvo? It is, isn't it? And is it Geely or Geely, the Chinese company, ultimately own Volvo, don't they? And a few others, quite a few others. I would suggest, for me, that is too early to say it's turning the corner. So I would be leaning to still being going short Polestar. So if I went short at 384, I'd have a stop probably somewhere the other side of 420. So for me, yeah, it still looks perhaps a little bit too downtrendy. I'd rather give it a bit more time to make its mind up and get a move on. So yeah, for me, it's still a bit weak. That one. I can see it needs to close above 4. I've got a copper short at 407, stop at 423. Copper short at 407, stop at 423. Let's have a look at that. Where's it gone? Copper. Well, if you got to stop at 423, I mean, the thing is not to second guess yourself, is it, when you're in a trade? I mean, the market is strong. If you're happy with your stop at 423, then stick with it. I mean, it is above the previous high, isn't it? The high from whenever it is, Feb. You know, for me, I mean, the best way of doing this, and it's something I've tried to do more and more in the last few weeks, put the trade on, put the stop on, and then just walk away and go do something else. Yeah, because if you watch it, grinding up there second by second, psychologically, I think it's tough. You know, so for me, if you've got your trade on, you've got your stop in, just leave it and see what happens. And put an alert on if it does suddenly start dumping in your favour. So for example, for me in the S&P, so if I'd have bought it, let's say I bought it Wednesday, I can't remember what the levels are, but I bought it at 40.97 and I put a stop at 40.70, then my stop's in place. I don't need to do anything until now, really, and I'd have an alert set up if the market moves a certain amount, so you don't have to watch it. I think that, but that copper short is, I think, you know, I mean, ultimately it's up to you, isn't it? But the stop seems a sensible level. Let's see what happens. I mean, it is, you know, clearly it's had a good run over the last 8 days or so. Let's see what happens, you know, but there is quite a bit of resistance up here. Let's see if it rolls over up here. Yeah, we did gold. Did gold. Charts tend to gap at resistance support. ADM, is that Admiral, isn't it? And I think, is it Admiral or which one do you mean? Do you mean ADM Archer Daniels, which is the US company, or Admiral Group, the UK insurance company? So which one of those? Let's see. Let's have a look at Archer Daniels. I'm sure I had shares in these ones. What are they? Agricultural. I mean, that's quite interesting anyway, even if it wasn't this one. I think it's quite an interesting stock. Archer Daniels. So we had a trend up from 2020. Maybe it's under a bit of pressure, that trend. I'd still be a buyer of the dip, as I often say. I always give it a second chance. So I'd be, if I was trading it now, I might like to wait for a bit of a pullback, but I would be looking to be a buyer with a stop the other side of 74. I did pound against the dollar. I mean, it's all really hinges on the dollar next week. The dollar's at a big level. So if you watch the recording, once this is finished, I did touch on pound against the dollar. Admiral Group, you wanted, the UK insurance company. Have they been getting hit lately? Let me have a quick look. I mean, it's a bit, what is that? That's quite a strange looking chart, that, isn't it? Admiral Group. It's the right stock, isn't it? Why does the chart look a bit weird? Admiral Group. Yeah, it's the right stock. It's really, it's expending a lot of energy, not going anywhere really, isn't it? It's what would you do? I mean, I'd go short. I suppose if I had to do anything, I'd go short. You know, I'd take the view that since the summer of last year, whenever the shares have run up towards £24, the sellers have come out, and we're back up here again. So for me, I'd be going short Admiral Group personally. Let's see. And just a quick one, just on that pound against the dollar. You know, a lot of the things against the dollar do look like this at the moment, because the dollar is at a big level. The pound and the euro has hit significant highs today and yesterday, but so much of it does depend, as I said at the beginning, on the dollar index. Do we see the dollar index next week rally off these lows here? Let's see. We'll see what happens next week. So that for me, that and gold are the two markets to watch next week. And gold is absolutely still in the shorter term trend. That is interesting, I think. For me, that could even be a buy later on today for gold, or maybe on Monday. Obviously, don't just buy it blindly. But for me, that's quite an interesting trade. What are the levels to watch on gold? Let's have a look. So yesterday's low. We're near yesterday's low now on gold. And what was the day before low? Wednesday's low. So $2,000, let's call it. So 2000 to 2015 has been good short-term support on gold. It's currently trading at 2019. Let's see what happens this afternoon. Do we see it? Do you see the buyers come back in? So I'm guessing, yeah, because the US dollar is having a bit of a run. What do you think about dollar Swiss? The dollar against the Swiss franc. Have I got that on my list? No, I haven't. Dollar Swiss. The price is respecting the downtrend. Respecting the downtrend. Let's have a look. Since the 16th of March. Let's have a look. Oh, it's interesting, isn't it? What do you reckon? I mean, an aggressive trade would be to start about thinking about a bottom being formed down here. Want to be aggressive? I can hear, so I'm getting distracted because I can hear my washing machine has started and I don't know why. So there seems to be a poltergeist in the washing machine. I'm not quite sure what it's running. So an aggressive trade, you know, we're near the lows from the summer of 2021. So an aggressive trade could be the sell-off's gone too far and we're going to see it bounce back. Would not surprise me at all. And again, that ties into, are we going to get a US dollar bounce back next week? But as you said, the downtrend from, when you say the 16th of March, so in here somewhere, you know, that is still holding. So, yes. So absolutely, perhaps it is a bit oversold. Perhaps we're going to get a bounce, but I'd be a seller into a bounce would be my position at the moment. Because if you look at it, look at this here, dollar Swiss. I'm looking, and if you look at the dollar index, similar sort of moves, isn't it? So yeah, so similar moves in both of those. TK Corp, TK Tankers or TK Corp, TK Corp. TK Corp, Transportation and Marine Shipping. Oh, it's not been good over the years, is it? But if we zoom things in a bit, I mean, it's a bit of a classic breakout from a big base, isn't it? The only question is, and it's always a big question, would you buy it here? If I was to buy it here at $6, the closest I would want my stop is probably $5.20. So I'm going to say, okay, the thing looks like it's breaking out. I'll give it a bit of wiggle room, but if it wiggles its way back below the breakout point, I come out. But absolutely, the trend since since July last year has been up, and that's it. It looks like that. So yeah, it's a buy. It's just whether you wait. For me, it's a buy anyway. It's whether you wait for a deeper pullback before being a buyer. But it's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting to me anyway. Is Goldman Sachs on an uptrend? The Goldman Sachs Group. I think it's definitely in a short-term uptrend, isn't it? If you flipped it over to the hourlies, it looks like that, since the 17th of March. So it is in a short-term run up. More medium-term, it's a bit nothing, isn't it? It's all a bit sideways, isn't it? Medium-term. So, yeah. Not much on that for me. Do you add lots to your initial position as it starts to move in your favour? I haven't seen you talk about it so far. Yes, I do. Medium-term trading, I do add to my position. I've got rules for it. For example, I'm in this trade at the moment. This is live cattle. So I bought I've got no idea why live cattle is going up. I'm just glad it is. So I bought live cattle in the middle of Feb. Because, you know, if we go back to Feb, the trend looked like that. So I bought live cattle and it's carried on moving in my favour. And it's now at a position where I'd add another trade in there potentially. So I do. I don't talk about it. There's a lot of stuff I don't talk about on here. You know, because we whiz through loads of markets. So I don't, you know, I mean, obviously at the core of my strategy is trend following and sensible risk management. But there's a bit more to it than that. But yeah, I do add to trades, but you know, it's a bit in my trading course I talk about. But that is one at the moment I'm thinking about adding to. I'm also short the dollar index. If the dollar index broke down next week below that level, I would add to my short in the dollar index. So I will add to it, but it has to be showing a decent profit for me to think about adding to the trade. So I hope that answers it. What's the other one I've got that's doing well? Coffee. So I bought, it's an interesting trade this, coffee. I bought coffee middle of March thinking perhaps it's going to recover. And it just went against me and I thought, oh, I've been wrong on this. And it's sort of come back to life the last couple of days. It'd be interesting to see if that thing gets a move on. Sugar, which I missed out on. I traded it quite a bit in December and January. I missed out on this move here. I mean, sugar's had a heck of a move over the course of just the last couple of weeks or so. You know, the price of sugar is up about 15% So the point is, there's lots going on. Even though we look at the same markets every week, we tend to anyway. Yeah, there's a lot going on in some of these other markets. Lumber, I think that is an interesting trade. Lumber. But anyway, let's go back to the questions. Oh, there you go. Lumber is just starting to wake up. I did think I put it in the chat group this week. I bought it this week, Lumber, but I put it in the WhatsApp chat group later on. The fact that I said it's gone really dead, and I thought the fact it's gone so dead, this is when it's going to come back to life. So I did actually trade it this week, and I'm in the trade, and the fact it had dribbled below the old support, and it didn't really sell off, so I thought I'll buy it. So I put a stop in. I think my stop's in at 340. I think, and I got in at 370. So I think it's interesting, this move. Whether, it does mark an important base and we start a big trend, who knows? But it's quite interesting that it's just been faffing around those old lows. CNJ on the Australia Stock Exchange. CNJ, is it that one? Conoco. Oh, that wasn't worth waiting for, that one. I'm sorry about that. So it's 0.009. What is it? What's the denomination less than an Australian dollar? Is it a cent? I don't even know. Whatever it is, it looks like an absolute. I mean, I hate stocks like that trade in fractions. So clearly it's a bit of a punt. That, I think, trading at 0.009 of an Aussie dollar, but I look at a chart there and I go look at something else because it's clearly quite illiquid. And you could say, okay, you could make the argument it is sort of bouncing around, the old lows, couldn't you, down here? But I think it either goes to the moon or you lose all your money, sort of stock. So good luck with it. Whatever you want to do with it. Goldman will probably follow the other banks. JPM and Citicorp reported 20 to 30% gain on earnings per share. JP Morgan, let's have a look at JP Morgan. Oh, there's the gap up. So that's clearly earnings out today. Thanks for that. That's Richard again, isn't it? So thanks for that. Earnings out today. JP Morgan stock moves positive for the year after it blasts past earnings and revenue. Okay, fair enough. Interesting, but yeah, again, a bit dull. What would you do here? What would I do here? I would be tempted to go short here, depending on an aggressive trade would be to go short for me anyway. It's a bit sideways. We've had a bit of a gap up, quite the gap up actually. What's the gap? Closed at 129 yesterday, opened at 135 today. Oh yeah, if it pushed a bit higher into the 140s, it's interesting. Let's see what happens. What's the S&P trade doing? Is my trade going to end the week well? Oh, it's come back in. It's boring, isn't it? Do you ever put the trend line on the hourly? Because I have never seen you do that. Just hold on. There you go. FTSE. So I do, for my own trading, I do. So I look at dailies for my medium-term trading. I look at hourlies for shorter-term trading. I'm still a much bigger fan of trading off dailies. So, there are markets that I do look at, and I will put a trend on. The FTSE trend is a great example. I do tend to get towards the end of the week and I've got lines everywhere. So when I start these live streams, I tend to just remove everything so we can start clean. But no, I will. I'm not the biggest fan of trading off a trend line. So if you go back to this FTSE trend, but I will put trend lines on hourly charts and daily charts to remind me which way the trend is, if that makes sense. So this is my slap around the face. Do not think about going short the FTSE because the trend is up. I want to be a buyer. So I do use them. I'm trying to find a market where I have actually put. Oh, there you go. There's an old one there I put on T-bonds. So yeah, I do sort of pay attention to them. How are we doing for time? I've got to wrap things up in a second. Permian Resources. Oh, is this some other dodgy mining stock out of someone's bedroom? Let's see. Permian Sources. It's not coming up. Permian Resources. Sorry, that's the one. NYSE. Oh no, fair enough. It's had a run. I'll take it all back. What's your opinion of that? I've been strong throughout the initial market drag. That's been a really good performer, that, hasn't it? I mean, that has done fantastically well. If we go back to October 2020, when it was 50 cents, and now it's $11.28. Cracking. It's lost a bit of momentum, but the trend is up, isn't it? So I'd be happy to buy a dip back below $10. It's been a bit sideways. I mean, not for that long, only since November last year. But no, that's been a great one, that, hasn't it? Once that trend got going, big downtrend, makes the base, and then bang, the trend gets going again. So for me, I'd be a buyer of a dip on that one, not necessarily a buyer where we are now. Right, that's it, isn't it? I think that's all the questions done. So we'll do it all again next week, next Friday. Go to the website to sign up for that newsletter. I'll send the newsletter out probably on Sunday. When you land on the website, if you scroll down to there and you're not on it, you can put your thing in there. There's a whole load of new stuff on the website, details about the content for the course, those performance numbers in a bit more detail, all the trades that made up that performance that I did. A few other bits. What broker I use is a popular question. If you click on broker, I've done a short 10-minute video on what broker I use. So go to the website. If you'd like to join one of the courses, April 20 is the 20% discount code. I'll keep that open for another week, I think. I was going to do it just to the end of the weekend, but I'll keep it open for a few more days afterwards. Any questions, drop me an email. You can email me from the site or do the chat box thing. And that's it, isn't it? That is it. And so like I say, next week, lots to watch. Dollar is the big one for me. What happens down here? Let's see. Let's see what happens. But we'll wrap things up there. So in the meantime, thanks for coming along, and good luck with your trading, and hopefully see you next week.